Good morning everybody. Today we're working on my R53. It's not a dashboard swap, it ain't a speaker swap, and it's not a radio. It's a service. Yes, you're going to see me doing mechanical work on my R53. We're going to be changing oil and filter, air filter and air conditioning filter, ignition coil and leads. We'll be doing a chassis service, changing one of the ball joints. And we'll also be changing the timing chain and the timing chain cover gasket. Reason being, we've got a nasty little oil leak. So, with no more ado, let's get started. We got a head start last night when I ran it. We've already drained the oil. And we've also put new wiper blades on it. I've checked all the lights and indicators. They're all working. So next, I'll take the oil filter out. It'll be a lot easier now that the engine's cold. Then I'll change the air filter and cabin filter, get them out of the way. Then we'll do the chassis service. The ball joint we have to change is on the left hand side, it's the lower one. We'll also be changing exhaust rubber mounts because they're creaking. So let's get on with it. Right, to take the oil filter off, we need a 36mm. And it also helps to have an extendable 1/2-inch ratchet because there's not a lot of swing room down here. Let's get the socket lined up, crack it off. Then we can get in. So a little bit tight. Just get me on the tool. We can shift over to a normal ratchet. And take the oil filter off. Have a container ready because there's bound to still be some oil in it. And I'll go ahead and drain this. Pop the oil filter out. Change the O-ring. Small screwdriver. Peel it off. Got a new O-ring and a new filter. Wash it out with some petrol. Wipe it off. And in there we should have a new oil filter and a new O-ring. Pop the O-ring on. And reinsert the filter. And before installation, just rub some oil around the O-ring and around the threads. Have your socket and your ratchet ready. And reinsert your filter. Grab yourself a torque wrench if you've got one. The torque settings for the oil filter cap are 25 Newton meters. Perfect. I'll change the air filter next. 7mm socket to undo the clip. Just pop that off. Phillips screwdriver. Pop the battery booster wiring harness off. It's on tabs at the back, so you've got to lift it and pull it towards you. And there's your air filter. Bit of a tip, just check and make sure the filters are the right ones. In my case they are, you can see the difference. Pop the new filter back in, grab your airbox, slot it in, then just tighten your screws down. One, and two. Now we're going to take the air intake off. The main reason is I want to clean the throttle body. There's also a pipe down there that just pulls off, just goes into there, and this is the pipe here on a clip. Yeah, it doesn't look too bad, but I think we'll clean it anyway. Okay, let's move on to the cabin filter. Right, to change the air conditioning filter, you've got to take this plate now. It's plastic, and the cabin filter is just up there and it slides down. There we go. Now, I'm not going to film this part because it's bloody tight in there. So bear with me, I'll show it when it's in. Okay, and the cabin filter is now changed. And that just pops in. It's missing screws here, so I'll put them in. But I'll put them in off camera. Yeah, I'll put some self-tappers in there, I think. They don't need to be anything special. Anyway, next I think we'll proceed on to the chassis service. Oh my God. I've been driving around like that. That's the bottom ball joint. 17mm socket. Take the wheel off. And just down there is a ball joint that's bollocksed. So, I've sprayed it. The question is, will it come off? Only time will tell. Okay, we can see the brakes. They're relatively new. They were changed last service. Let me get some light on here. There. But we're basically looking for any split steering rack boots or CV boots, which mine are good for the moment. Now I'm not sure if I can film that. Yep, there we go. They're all good. So I'll just check the suspension arms. Now these ball joints at the back should be okay because I changed them not too long ago, just after I bought the car. Yeah, we can feel that bottom joint moving. That is terrible. The anti-roll bar links are okay. Shock absorbers look okay. The spring feels good. Brakes look good. There's no playing the steering rack boot or the steering knuckle or the tie rod, which is okay. Brake lines don't look too bad, which is good. Right, onto the other side. And we'll leave the wheels off because, like I said, we're going to have to put this in front end service mode to allow us to do the auxiliary belt and that timing chain. So, onwards and upwards. We're going to have to break the taper on this ball joint. 18mm socket and high impact. Make sure it's on loosen. Now off. Then put it back on a few threads. Because now I've got to put my ball joint separator on it. Right, sorry about that, I had to put the wheel on full right hand lock. Got my separator prepared. Now we'll just keep going. Obviously making sure it doesn't slip. Yes, until it pops. Beautiful. It actually came out. Oh my God, guys. Wow. I've heard nothing but horror stories with these ball joints. Take the 213s out, pull, plonk, it came straight out. Oh my God. That is one knackered ball joint. I am so goddamn relieved that came out when it did. Incredible. Right, despite the fact that ball joint popped out easily, I'm still going to clean the hole. That should do it. New ball joint. Clean the hole out. And that should just slot in place. There. Now if it's any consolation, I could stick this in the freezer for a couple of hours. You might see my big head now. Grab your air gun. And then you can reinsert the joints, the main nuts, and we'll get that tightened down. We've got special ratchets and sockets. This main nut's a 19mm, 5mm Allen key. Then we can just tighten it down. This has got a nylon ring on it. That should do. Perfect. And that is the ball joint side of things done. I've just put the wheel on with 2 bolts to make sure we've got no more movement, which we don't, and that's fantastic. Means the suspension side of this job is done. You know what? I'm pleasantly surprised at that ball joint. And that is the salt plug tightened. Okay, because we're going to put this in front in service mode, I just thought before we do the exhaust rubbers, I'll get a start or head start on draining the cooling system. So just get that pipe moving. I've already had a shower, so I don't want another one. Just crack off the expansions out now. And we'll let gravity do its work. With the front chassis done, time to get onto the back. So we do a visual inspection. Shock absorbers are relatively new, so they're okay. Brake pipes all look good. Anti-roll bar looks good. There's still plenty of meat on the brake pads. Ooh. And then this is going to need changing when we change the pads. That's not a big deal. Right, I'll do the shape test. Just checking for any movement anywhere. God knows I'm going to change that on when it goes, but it's okay for now. That one's okay. And that one's okay. See, roll bar looks so good on this side. Okay, onto the other side. Okay. Same again on this side. Not on there, that's a heat shield. Oh, hello. Got a rock in there. Got it. Like I said, the shock absorbers are relatively new. Again, she will want break this when we change the pads, but they're okay for now. You can see where I changed the shock absorbers. Put a nice timing mark just there in correlation to the top mount and the spring. But yeah, the back looks okay. Onto the exhaust. I'm not sure if the camera's picking that up, but you can see the exhaust rubber is completely destroyed, and the same on that side. So let's get this plate off. One there. One up there. Sorry, my arm's blocking the light here. One up there. And one there. Okay. I'll stop the recording here for a minute until I get it down, and then we'll have a closer look at the exhaust mounts. Well, no wonder the exhaust was knocking. Look at the state of them. Wow. Okay, I think I'll change the rear ones because that exhaust is nice and loose. We've got some new ones here in the bag. Shop and Ship very kindly sent them over to me through RMX. As you guys know, in Cyprus it's a bit difficult to get parts from overseas. But I will get this changed over and then get the car into front end service mode. And then the real fun begins. I can't wait. Okay, I've jacked the exhaust up because the middle plate's now off. My plan is to loosen the back mounts, drop the exhaust about 6 inches to enable me to change the two middle mounts. So we'll start with these first. Spray some WD-40 around them, and then they should just slide off. That's one. And that one really isn't the best either. Okay, let's go get the other one off. Same on this side, spray some penetrating oil and just slide it off like that. I'll go underneath now and get the other two mountings off. I'll record that and then we'll see if my theory works by dropping the exhaust down. Okay, next I'm going to take these two brackets off up here. These are 13mm nuts. That's one. Oh, hang on, get some light on the subject. That's two. Of course, with the exhaust jacked up, she's not gonna, theoretically she shouldn't react. See, we've got it jacked on a piece of wood. Three. And the final one. Come on. Four. Okay, now I'll let the exhaust down, see what happens. Yeah, well, my plan to drop the exhaust down worked. Got the old mount off. And you can see the difference between the old and the new. So, let's get that reinstalled. That's one. Pull the other one off. You can see it fits just up there. And there's two. Just a slider. Nope. Missed it because I didn't lubricate it. Just slide that on there. And that's it. Okay. I'll get this jacked into place. Put the outer rubbers on. The middle one's on. And then that will be the exhaust done. Well, the exhaust is back in place. And already she feels a lot better. New rear rubbers. We just slide them on. One there. Grab my spray. Just spray the top. Put it on the... Sorry about that, guys. I put the rubber on the wrong way. Slide it on the back box first. And then when you get your angles right, there we go. It just slots in. And that's the back done. So we can put the jack away. We'll put the middle ones in. And then that's the exhaust done. Brilliant. I've got the center rubbers in. I tried recording it, but I couldn't because I had to pull the exhaust away from the body while I put that mounting on, so it was actually a three-hand job. But they're on now, so we'll angle them and get the plate on. So I'm going to stop the record here and show it when it's done. Right, and that is the exhaust system done. Feels nice and solid again, not too solid. you do need flexibility. But anyway, now we can put the back wheels on, and then it's time for the engine. Back chassis is now done. We're going to start putting it in front end service mode. Start by taking the front bumper off. There's an 8mm bolt up here, 4 clips, which you'll need a trim tool for, which is just here. So let's get on with it. One, 2, 3, then 3 bolts underneath. Same on the other side. Start by taking that 8mm bolt out. One. One over there. Okay. 2, 3. And 4. Alright, Mr. Cameraman, remind me to put a 4th clip in there, if you don't mind. Thank you. So then there's one up there. And of course, don't forget your lights. It's just one plug. Same on this side. Now this side on my car has a captive knot because the fitting's broken. So we hold that with a pair of pliers. Take the bolt out, lift the nut up, and just put them there for now. Two secondary lights, and that's the bumper off. Next, 13mm 1/2 inch with an extension. Of course, grab yourself a container for your bolts. Through. Okay, one more bolt holding this crash bar in. And that's your crash bar off. Right, next we're going to take these 2 brace bars off, which hold the subframe together. Two 16mm bolts underneath and a 10mm bolt there. Take that out. Just give it a small shake and it pulls off. Next we'll disconnect the fan, which is just a single multi-plug. It clips into there. Disconnect your air duct. Now, because my bleed off valve is metallic, whenever I put this one into front end service mode, I disconnect the radiator off there, like so. Of course, expect the coolant shower. Now we put 2 knots from the crash bar onto the cowling to stop it moving temporarily. So we take them off, disconnect the last of the wiring. Like so. Very carefully. Disconnect your spotlights. And that's your front off. Pour the remainder of that water into the catcher. Okay. Next I'll remove this wheel arch for access to the crank pulley and the timing chain cover. So I'll pull the remainder of these clips out. Plus 2 Phillips screws there. And then one just up here. I don't think the camera's going to pick it up, but we'll try our best. One clip just there. Like so. And then one underneath. Just there. And there we go, one in a wheel arch. And now we've got perfect access to the crank pulley and the timing chain tensioner. I've got the crank pulley off. What a nightmare. That's got to be the most difficult crankshaft pulley I've ever removed in my entire life. But all we've got to remove now is the tensioner, and then I'll pull the valve cover off. Then we'll figure out how to time it. So, check back in a bit. Valve covers off, intercooler's off, engine mount cradle's off, and I've taken the mounting out. 16mm. As I said, we'll be changing the ignition coils and the HD lead as well. So that's all good. 16mm on the top. And the knee 14 on the bottom. Don't you just love the simplicity of the minis? And we can just lift it out. Okay, next we're going to take these 2 Allen plugs out. But we've removed the guide, which sits there. We've got the crank pulley off, and we've got the tensioner off. So next up, like I said, is these 2 plugs, the cam sensor. I've got the engine on the jack with a piece of wood under the sump. So we're slowly but surely making progress. Let's crack on with it. I finally got the front plate off. The gasket is like plastic. And so are they. But we finally got it off. The engine's timed. Next we'll take the tensioner off, which is a 17 I think, or 19. Then we'll just crack off the cam sprocket bolt. And then I'll take these guides out. And then we can lift the chain off. but I'm interested to see how much stretch we've got. It wasn't actually noisy, but because this was leaking, we thought we might as well do it while we're in there. So, let's get on with it. Finally, after an hour of struggling, we've got the chain tensioner off. We've timed it. I've slackened off the cam sprocket bolt. I'm just undoing the fasteners for the chain guide. There it is. Now we can take bolt out, like so. Pop the chains up one side and lift that guide out. Okay, now I can take the chain off the cam sprocket, take that out, and lift the chain out. There's one. Final crank sprocket. Guide rather. Just jack the engine up slightly and crack it off. Like so. And then we can lift the guide out. Okay, timing chains are on, guides are on, tensioners on, all new sprockets. I've just got to tighten this centre bolt now, which will be easy. But apart from that, it's going good. But we'll find out when we start it. Well, front plate's on. Everything's timed. Just putting that Allen caps back on now. Mustn't forget the crank sensor. That's very important. $10mm bolt in there. And there is it. That's done. We've made a lot of progress. Valve covers are back on. HC leads were the wrong one, so that spoiled my plans to change them. Never mind, new ones are on the way. Oh, new auxiliary belt, crank pulleys back on. So, for the big moment, will it start? Oh, it starts. Brilliant. Now we've got to do is put the front back together and run it up to temperature. Nice. Okay, I've put the front back together. So I'm just running it up to temperature now. I did manage to put the new ignition coil on. So I'll get a set of leads ordered for it when I'm in the mood. But we are warming up. I've got myself a little dongle, if you like, just to see some real-time parameters. At the moment I'm running temperature, battery voltage, intake pressure and fuel consumption, or fuel use. Focus, that's it. But we had one come in that needs a head gasket, so I had to shift this one and put that there so it's not occupying an important space. But yeah, overall a successful job, I think. I'll let the cooling fan start, let it pull back and do a test drive tomorrow. I have had it up on the straight and round the block, which is a minimal test drive, just to give the thermostat a chance to open. But overall, not that bad. But I did get in the mail this morning the proper timing kit, because I'm damned if I'm going to struggle like that again. You've got your engine mount support bar, camshaft locking tool, your crank fitting tool, plus the 3 bolts to mount your mounting cradle to the frame and the engine. But she sounds nice, she really does. Definitely not the hardest timing chain job to do, but with the limited space it is very fiddly. But it does help that there's arrows on all the gears and coloured links on the chain. So I'll get this run up to temperature, I'll let it stand overnight, check for leaks tomorrow, and then do a test drive. And I'm going to try my camcorder, which I'm quite looking forward to, because that'll be the first time I've ever viewed any footage. And it's been in there since I've had the radio in, which was about 4 or 5 months ago now. Anyways, I'll check back when this fan starts. One thing I will say, I am sorry if I missed out parts of the timing chain job, but I did have to get this finished. But there's plenty of videos how to do them. I mean, this was a general service, exhaust rubbers, ball joint, as well as the timing chain, plus the timing chain cover gasket. But again, I am sorry if I missed out a lot of things. But this has to be done during weekend and evenings when we're not busy, because at the moment it's just me and my dad here working. So, but I did try and film it as best as I could. Of course, it did help that I had a cameraman here over the weekend. So yeah, we'll see how we go and see if we've got any leaks. Yeah, the cooling fan's just cut in. $105, which is about right. And she's blowing nice and hot. There we go. Knock that off now. Let it pull back overnight, do a test in the morning. Okay, it's the following day now, and that looks like a very dry sump pan to me. No leaks anywhere. Everything looks good. So, I've topped the coolant level back up. So she's running at, she's at her optimum running level now. Sorry for that mistake. So we can bring it back down, take it for a test drive. Well, she's quieter. Thanks for changing that ball joint. No funny engine noises, which is always excellent after changing the timing chains. It wasn't noisy, like I said, but if you've got the oil pump assembly off for that oil leak, it's definitely well worth doing just for the peace factor alone. You know, peace of mind. Yeah, the car's going great. No oil leaks under it, as we just saw. No coolant leaks, which is nice. I've got to do something with that window regulator. I'm not sure if the camera's picking it up, but the window's rattling a bit just there. I know the regulator isn't the best on that side, so when I get round to it, I'll make a video on that. Well, I think it's fair to say there's nothing wrong with this now. So it's back to the workshop and on to the next job. Well, I think the test drive spoke for itself. Timing chain's quiet. Like I said, it wasn't noisy, but the car has done over 100,000 miles now, so it just gives peace of mind. And of course, with oil leaking from the timing chain front plate, it did make sense to change it. But we've done 200 kilometers with it now. The engine's still dry, there's no more leaks, oil or coolant, which is excellent. The one thing I want to talk about before I end the video, you didn't see me changing the fuel filter or the spark plugs. The reason being, when I bought the car last year, we put a clutch in, plus some other suspension work, and did the supercharger service. When I did that service, I put a new fuel filter in and changed the spark plugs, but I decided to put platinum tipped in. Now off camera, we did take the plugs out so that when we did the timing chain and we did our 2 turns on the engine, we could turn it freely. The plugs looked good, so we've put them back. The fuel filter, I think we change it every 3 services on these. It's done 7,000 miles now since I put it in, so it's due next service. So I might film it there how I go about changing it. Ignition leads, the correct ones are ordered, but I'm not going to bother giving an update on that because we all know how to change plug leads on these, I think. Anyways, on that note, I'm declaring the job done. Thanks for watching this video. Drop a like if you enjoyed it. Feel free to comment, give it a share. If you've got any questions, leave them in the comments and I'll get back to you. one more time, deepest apologies for not filming the whole process changing the timing chain, but it did have to get done quickly. We did need that bay for the Honda that came in, and like I said, these have to be done, our personal cars do have to be done on the weekend or on evenings when we're not busy and we're not working outside working hours. Anyways, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all in the next one.